Welcome back. We are going to take a look at our math lesson. If you were with us yesterday, you know that the lesson that we started, we did not get to finish. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to finish up that lesson. So first, I would like for us to review what we learned by taking a look at that Brain Pop Junior video again. So I'm going to go ahead and play that. And as you are watching, I'd like for you to be thinking again about building knowledge of what is a fraction, okay? So we wrote some definitions yesterday that we know that fractions are parts or pieces of a whole, but we still need to be thinking about some real world examples of fractions and where we find fractions and when we use fractions in our daily lives, okay? I actually was just doing that. For lunch, I was having some pretzels, and one of my pretzels was broken in half, and I said, that's half of a pretzel. And it was very interesting because I wanted to make a sandwich with a whole pretzel. So I, in my head, said, I need another half of a pretzel. So that was a fraction right there that I was using. We're going to take a look at times that we use fractions. But again, remember, we have to know what fractions are to be able to do that. So my Brain Pop Junior is loaded. Good. Okay, here we go. So we're taking a look at fractions. Awesome. Okay, here we go. There we go. Make that a little bit larger. And I will come close out of this. Beautiful. Here we go.
Wait, stop. You're supposed to share with the whole class.
Yeah, I can't hear it.
Moby, that's not fair. Everyone is supposed to
I
hear.
can hear it.
I can hear it.
Me too.
What is a fraction?
Turn your computer up.
A fraction tells you the number of parts out
Yeah,
of the whole.
yeah, I can hear from my computer.
You guys' voices need to be off.
Not that kind of whole, Moby. Something is whole when it has all of its parts. I love muffins. This whole muffin has 2 equal parts. In a fraction, the number of parts goes under a line. There are 2 parts. You took 1 part of the muffin, and that number goes on top. So this fraction shows you took 1 out of 2 parts. You can also write this as 1/2. What is a half? When you split something in half, you make 2 equal parts. Right, Moby, there are 2 halves in a whole. Half for you and half for me. There are 2 equal pieces, and we each get 1 piece. Sometimes I see a half moon at night. And everyone loves a half day of school. What is a third? We can share this cake between you, me, and Grandpop. We can cut the cake into thirds. That means we divide it into 3 equal pieces. We each get 1 slice. So Grandpop gets 1 out of 3 slices. We each get 1/3 of the whole cake. There are 3 3 of us, but only 1 is a robot. So 1 out of 3 of us is a robot. What is a 4th? I love apple pie, and this pie has 4 equal slices. You took 1 slice. So you took 1 out of 4 slices, or 1/4 of the slices. 1/4 is also called 1/4. Exactly, Moby. There are 4 quarters in a dollar. So 1/4 is 1/4 of a dollar. I can divide a lot of things into fourths. Like a piece of paper, a cup of water, an inch, or an hour. I think all this sugar is making us sick, Moby. We better cut up the sandwich so everyone can get an equal piece. It's okay, Moby. I've got a slice saved right here. Wait, you're supposed to give me half. I guess you can keep mine.
Alrighty, so taking a look at fractions and where we can see them in our everyday lives, I'd like for you guys to get ready to have some conversation inside of breakout rooms about when you have used fractions in your life. So think about some examples of when you have used fractions, and then share with your room of when you have seen them or used them. And you can also be thinking about activities. There are a lot of activities that you can complete that require fractions as well, okay? So I'm going to send you into those breakout rooms. Again, you are answering the question, when have you used or seen fractions in your life? Here come your invites. Gordon? Alrighty, the question is, when have you used or seen fractions in your life? Miss Leah, tell us your story.
So once we got donuts and there was an M&M chocolate one. So and there was only one. So my sister and brother both wanted it. So they had to split it. So they both got a half.
Perfect. Great real life example right there. Splitting a whole item, in that case, into 2 pieces, which made a half. All right, Terrence, what's your fraction story?
So first, I was playing a game, and there was 5 people in my party. So, and we wanted to play squads, which is with 3 people. So we had to kick. Squads, which is 4. We had to kick one person. So, I said, I'm not gonna kick none of y'all.
So your squad. Okay, so you had to get rid of one. So your squad was 4 people. So you would be 1/4 of your squad.
Yes.
Okay, so that's an example of a set. Remember we talked yesterday about an item like Leah's donut, and then a set of multiple things like Terrence's game when he's got a squad going. That's multiple people that make up one squad, and he is 1/4 of that. Awesome. Aiden G, when have you used or seen fractions in your life?
I've used a fraction to cut 2 halves of a pizza to give 1 slice to me and give 1 slice to my mom.
Okay, so were there only 2 slices on the pizza, or were there more than that?
There were more, but I cut it in 2 so we can have equal amount.
So you took a piece of a slice of pizza and even made that into a smaller fraction. Yeah, we can decompose fractions in even smaller pieces as well. Thank you for sharing that, Aiden G. Christopher, fraction story.
One time that I got a cake for my birthday, it was just the 4 of my family. We had to cut it in 4 sizes.
Wow, you got 1/4 of a cake for your birthday? That's a lot of cake. That's awesome. So yes, cutting up a cake to share. Aiden Hampton, when have you used or seen fractions in your life?
So I was letting my sister play my game. And when I used to have an Xbox like last year, and she when we was taking it downstairs, she accidentally dropped it down the stairs and it broke in half.
Ah, so things can break down into fractions as well. Man, I'm
Yeah.
sorry to hear that, Aiden. Oscar, when have you used or seen fractions in your life? Oscar, we can't hear you, kiddo. If you have headphones, can you unplug them? And try again.
So I've seen fractions like pizza or like and also I've seen the moon in half sometimes.
Yeah, the moon in the sky. You can see that when it's a half moon or a quarter moon. I had never thought of that as a fraction before. Thank you for sharing, Oscar. Levin, last one. When have you used or seen fractions in your life?
Easy one. Cake.
Cake. That's right, man. And you know what I think about sometime is lasagna, because lasagna often gets chopped up into pieces or fractions as well. Here's a fraction that I am looking at right now. Let me show you. The fraction that I am looking at right now, let me grab, look, is you guys. Look up here. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's fourths right there. And Justin's in the fourth, and he's proud of it. So yeah, the fraction that I see, and now Levin is just one fraction all by himself. So your Zoom screen, when it's divided up into squares, is also a fraction that you are seeing. So that's pretty cool. Now, where is the share button? There it is. Come back here. Stop. Boom. Okay. So great open introduction into fractions. Yesterday, we started taking some word notes. Today, we're going to take some picture notes. So go ahead and grab that math notebook and grab some thing to write with. I've got my colorful pens right here because I think notes are more fun there in color. I'm going to go ahead and switch my camera now so that you can see the notes. I love it. TTV Church Stuffer showing us his notes. All right, and then can you? Oh, you can see my notes. Yay! So here are the notes that we took yesterday. If you weren't with us yesterday, remember these have been uploaded onto Seesaw in the math folder so that you can write them down during your work time. And I would strongly suggest that you get that done today if you have not done it yet. Okay. Research tells us when we write something down, our brain makes more connections to it, making it easier to remember. Okay. I'm going to turn my page and go to a blank page because we're going to draw some pictures today and you will need some space. Okay. We're going to label this fraction models. Fraction models. Okay. Fraction models. So go ahead and get your label on your notes. Fraction models. Fraction models, models of fractions. We are familiar with the word models, not because we all are wonderful at standing in front of a camera and posing, but because we have created models with our multiplication and division. We have created equal group models. We have created array models. We have created number line models. So models are just pictures that represent something. They're not just people that are on magazine covers or on Instagram. Okay, we also have models that are pictures that represent different items. So we're going to take a look at the 3 different kinds of fraction models that there are. Okay, the first kind of fraction model you guys have seen is called a circle model. Circle model. And guess what a circle model has? A circle. You got it. So a circle model. we're going to draw a circle, and I'm going to make my circle take up about 4 lines. You don't want it to be too big, but you definitely don't want it to be so small that you can't see it. Okay, so a circle model. And this would be a model like some of you talked about with pizza, right? Typically, a pizza is a circle. Sometimes it can be square, but typically it's a circle. Some cakes are also circles, depending on the kind of cake that you are eating. And pies are usually circles. So circle model is a very common model that we will see in real life. Okay, so circle models, we're going to go ahead and draw the fraction 1/3. Okay, so circle models, let's go ahead over here and label it as 1/3. Because remember I told you thirds I find are the hardest fraction to draw. So we're going to practice it a lot. Now, here's one thing that I saw a lot of people doing yesterday that you cannot do with circle models. You cannot take 2 lines and draw them straight up and down like this and call it thirds. Those are not equal pieces. If I were to make a line right here, this piece is much smaller than the big, huge, fat middle piece, right? So we can't do that. So what we do is we create a peace sign. Go ahead and take your pen or pencil at the top of your circle and draw a line straight down to the middle of your circle and stop. So right at the top and go straight down to the middle and stop. Then we're going to make kind of an upside down Y. So the letter Y normally looks like this. We're going to flip it upside down. We're going to draw an upside down Y by going straight out to the left side. And I'm going to do the same thing and go straight out to the right side. So I've got an upside down letter Y inside of my circle. This is thirds, okay? This is how you draw thirds on a circle model. I want to make sure you heard me say that you cannot draw it with a line going straight up and down, okay? And I'll show you why again. So I'm going to put a sticky note down so it doesn't ruin my notes. You are not writing this, okay? Here's what you don't do. You do not draw a circle model of thirds like this, okay? Look how tiny this piece is right here. And then if I were to look at a different piece, let's look at this one. Look how much bigger that middle piece is. That is not fair. That is not equal or even. Do you see how much more pizza the person who got the middle would get? Look at that. It's huge when you compare it to this tiny one. Okay, so this right here is wrong. This is not thirds. You cannot draw thirds on a circle by drawing straight lines. Okay, the pieces will not be equal. They will not be even. So this is how we draw thirds on a circle model. Okay. Now, because we said we have 1/3, we're going to shade or color one piece. It doesn't matter what piece you choose. I'm doing the piece on the right side. You might do the bottom piece. You might do the piece on the left, whatever piece you want, but just one of them. Go ahead and color it in. And now you have shown one of the 3 parts, or 1/3. Okay, so circle model, that is the first type of a model for fractions. The next model is also something that you are familiar with, and it is called the rectangular model. And guess what a rectangle model has? A rectangle. Boom, you're catching on. So a rectangle model we're going to draw a rectangle. So again, over here off to the side, I'm going to have my rectangle take up about 4 lines. And just so we can see how the same fraction looks in different models, we're going to make 1/3 again as well. we'll stick with the same fraction. So my circle model has a circle, my rectangle model has a rectangle, and then you will see the last one. Alrighty, so for a rectangle, there are several different ways we can make thirds. We could make thirds by taking our lines and going, let me grab some straighter lines here, going straight up and down like this. We could also make thirds going straight across like this. Either way, the important thing is that your pieces are equal, even, fair, okay? I'm going to take my finger and put it right in the middle of the rectangle. And this is an easy trick that I like to use. Thirds are off center from the middle. So if I know where the middle is, I'm going to go over a little bit to the left and draw a line. And I'm going to go over a bit to the right and draw a line. And then I've got my thirds. I'm going to straighten that line out a little bit. Okay. So again, I imagine where the middle is, and then I put a line to the left of the middle, and I put a line to the right of the middle. And again, because our numerator, our top number is 1, I'm going to shade or color one of the pieces. Again, it does not matter which one you shade or color. I'm doing the left piece. You could color the middle. You could color the right piece. But you have to color one, because that's what our numerator says. There's one piece that has been eaten, or that is missing, or even that is left. One, okay? So we've got circle models, we've got rectangle models. Our last model is called a number line model. And guess what a number line model has? A number line. You guys are so smart.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so I'm going to move down. I'll get rid of the circle model so you can still see the rectangle. There we go. And we're going to now write a number line model.
Miss Sousa, are we ever going to learn like triangles and all of that?
We will. So a number line model. Okay, this is the last model that we are going to take notes on today. And again, there are a lot of different models of fractions. You can really make a fraction out of any shape at all, but the most common ways that you will see them or experience them is circles, rectangles, and number lines. Now, a number line model is very common when you're reading a ruler or a yardstick or a meter stick, okay? Or when you have to measure how far you threw something and you want to get right down to the last half inch, right? So number lines models of fractions are great for measuring, okay? We are going to draw a number line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take two lines and I'm going to draw a very thick end line. Okay, so it's very thick. And then over here on the other side, I'm going to do the same thing. So it's going to take up pretty much the whole edge of my paper. All right, so I've got two very, and I messed up and put it on the top. That's okay. Two very thick edges on the left and on the right. And I am not at school, so I don't have whiteout. So my mistake will have to stay. And that is okay. Now,
where it has the white and it erases it.
Oh yeah, I could, but I don't have that program on my laptop. You're right though. Alrighty, so now I'm going to trace the middle line. So I'm just tracing that line that's right there on my notebook. Boom. And now we've got a number line. We've got a starting, we've got an ending, and we've got the middle traced out there. Okay, so I've created a very fat number line. Alrighty. Over here, we're going to write 0. Okay, so imagine, if you will, we're standing right here and we're going to throw a football. If my football lands right here, it went 0, right? It didn't even make it out of my hand. I fumbled it. So this is where we start. Over here, we're going to call this 1. And let's say this is one whole football field. Okay, so this is end zone to end zone, touchdown to touchdown. I'm starting at 0, and if I make it all the way over to 1, I threw the football one whole football field, which I could do in my sleep. No, I couldn't. You don't believe me. William, give me a thumbs down. That hurt. That
It's
hurt.
a yard each foot.
Yes, that's correct. So we've got a 0 to 1. This is our football field. Now, again, this is going to work just like the rectangle model. We're going to imagine where the middle is. Put your finger where the middle is. And then we're going to go over to the left, and we're going to make a line. And I'm imagining in my head what I think a third is going to look like. So I'm not going so close to the 0 that my line is really, really long, but I'm also not going so close to my finger that these pieces are super small. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I got my finger in the middle, and I'm going to move over to the right a little bit. And boom, when I lift up my finger, look what I have. 3 pieces. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this right here would be thirds on a number line. We're going to label this. So now that we have our 0, let's go ahead and call this 0 thirds. 0 thirds. If it lands right there, you threw it none of the thirds. The next line is going to be 1 third. And it progresses. 0 thirds, 1 third, 2 thirds. And then we have 1 whole, okay? We can also call 1 whole 3 thirds. So over here, I'm going to put 3 thirds to show that it's the same thing. 1 or 3 thirds. And I'll even put the word "or" in there. 1 whole is the same as 3 thirds because if I throw it all 3 of the thirds, I threw it the full length. Just like if there was a cookie and it was cut into 3 pieces and you ate all 3, you ate 3 thirds or you ate the whole cookie. It's the same thing, okay? Now, number line models, we don't shade. We put a dot. So at 1 third, go ahead and put a big fat dot. That's how you show where your fraction is on a number line, with a big fat dot. And I call it a big fat dot every time because it helps my brain remember. Big fat dot. Okay. These are the 3 models that you will commonly see in your life for fractions. Again, like I said, you can cut anything into a fraction. You can cut stars into fractions. A heart shape could be a fraction. A triangle could be a fraction. But most commonly, in the examples you guys shared, the moon, a pizza, a pie is a circle. Rectangular model, a cake that we might bake at home. And then number lines when we're measuring, when we're using rulers or yardsticks, okay? So these are the 3 models. And again, I will upload this picture onto Seesaw so that you have it. But for now, we're going to get ready to go to Seesaw, okay? So if not finish, it is quite all right. It will be uploaded to Seesaw for you to work on during your work time, okay? For now, I'm going to ask that you go to Seesaw. Let me move you guys down. There you go. Alrighty, on Seesaw, you're going to open up the activity that we were working on yesterday. Okay, I sent it back to all of you. A couple of you turned it in again. but I sent it back again, so you should have it. So on Seesaw in your activities, you're going to have to scroll down. So I'm going to scroll down past our reading, down past our social emotional, down past our DMR, and boom, there it is, Introduction to Fractions. This is what we worked on yesterday. Most of you will have a button that says Finish Response or Draft. Click on that. Some of you haven't started yet, so you'll have to click on the Add Response, okay? Go ahead and open up your same response that you did yesterday, or start a new response if you did not start it yesterday. So I'm going to edit mine. Okay. Yesterday, we looked at a half, a third, and a fourth. Today, we're going to create sixths and eighths. If you know how to create thirds and fourths, then you know how to create sixths and eighths. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to get a color and connect third and sixth. So I'm just going to connect these together, just like this, okay? And the reason I'm connecting those is because, like I said, if you know how to make thirds, then you know how to make sixths, because we know that 3 is double of 6, or 6 is double of 3. I said that backwards. So all we're going to do is double the picture that we made, okay? So again, I'm going to be using my Shapes tool. I gave a lot of you feedback yesterday. A lot of you did this, and it looks a hot mess. You have pieces that are teeny tiny, you have pieces that are big and fat, and that's not fair. Okay, if this were a pizza party and I gave you this right here, and your younger brother got this right here, you'd be hot, right? You'd be mad. So please erase that now. Okay, hot mess is yesterday, and they weren't fractions. So actually, it's not just that it was messy, your work is wrong. Because if our pieces aren't even, then they're not fractions. Okay, they're just pieces. Alrighty, so we're going to grab our Shapes tool. And again, we're going to click on that little blue line that looks like a subtraction symbol. And it's going to pop up over here. As Terrence pointed out yesterday, you could just duplicate the other one. But in case people weren't here yesterday, I'm showing them this. Okay, I'm going to bring it over to my circle. What I'm going to do is create my thirds. So I'm going to then put this straight up and down in the middle of my circle. Here we go. And I'm going to make it shorter. And as you can see, my third goes to the middle of my circle, just like it did on our notes page, right? I'm going to make exactly what I did on my notes. Now I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to turn it so that it looks like that upside down Y. Okay, that looks pretty good. And I'm going to do the other side. Okay, so I have got my sixths, okay? I'm going to move them a little bit. And again, remember, it's really easy to move these instead of a line that I would have to erase and redraw. That's another reason we use the Shapes tool. Now, I'm going to show you something super, super, super awesome. We're not going to add any more lines, okay? To make 6, what we're going to do is extend our line. So I'm going to click on this top line, and then watch what I do. I'm going to drag it so that it cuts this bottom piece in half. See what's happening? Now I have another piece. I'm going to do the same thing on this line over here. I'm going to drag it so that it cuts that piece in half. Look. I'm going to do the same thing on the last third line. Oops, the last third line that I drew. And I accidentally clicked rotate, so I'm going to click undo. There we go. I'm going to drag it straight out so that it makes that other piece. Boom. I've got my 6, okay? The reason that works is because it's doubled. So we took those pieces, and like Aiden was talking about earlier, Aiden G, when he took a piece of pizza and even cut that into a smaller piece, he doubled that piece of pizza. That's what we just did here with our 6 as well. We doubled them. They used to be thirds. It used to look like this right here, and all we had to do was drag this straight out so that it got longer and cut those pieces in half. Doubled, okay? So that's our 6. Now for our thirds, we're gonna do something very similar. I'm going to get my shapes tool again, and I'm going to make my 6 rectangular model look exactly the same as my third that I connected it to with my red line. So I'm looking at this right here. I'm going to make this line the same size as my rectangle. I'm going to imagine where the middle is and move it over to the left.
Miss Sousa,
Yes.
the circle, it's not, I have 3 lines, but one of the sides is bigger than all the other ones.
Great point. So look at what Terrence just said. I did the same thing. I just didn't talk about it. Some of your lines might look like this, right? It looks like this piece is very clearly smaller than this one. All you have to do is grab it and then rotate it. Click and hold this and turn it until you get it to be the size that you want it to be. So I'm going to keep moving. That looks even to me right there. And I'm going to let go. So if that's happening to you, if you're noticing one of my pieces is way smaller than the others, look at that. All you got to do is turn that stick until you feel that they're equal. Great point, Terrence. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay. So I've created the first division line of my 6. Now I'm going to create the second one. Okay, so there's 1 I'm going to duplicate over here. There we go. I've got my 6. Okay. Now, because we know that 6 is double 3, right? 3 times 2 equals 6. 2 3s equals 6. I'm actually going to cut this in half. So I'm going to add another line. And what I'm going to do with that line is bring it straight across my rectangle. Look, boom. Now I've got 6 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I make thirds, all I have to do is cut those thirds in half, and I've got 6. So again, my thirds, I added a line straight across the middle, boom, and I've got 6 pieces. 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom. Okay, that's my 6. Alrighty, now we're going to get a different color marker and we're going to connect 4ths and 8ths. Because if you know how to make 4ths, then you know how to make 8ths. And we're going to do exactly that. We're going to make 4ths exactly the same way. So I'm going to duplicate this and make on my 8ths circle the exact same way. Go ahead and do the same thing. Make your 4ths on your 8ths circle. And just like we cut the rectangular 6 in half, we're going to cut the circular 4ths in half to make 8ths. So I'm going to take this line that's already the same size as my circle and I'm going to duplicate it. Now I've got a plus sign my circle, right? Now I'm going to make a multiplication sign. So I'll change this color so you can see what I'm adding. There we go. I'm going to add a diagonal. And then I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to add my diagonal going the other way. So I've created a plus sign and a multiplication sign inside of my circle. So I added the 2 purples. And again, if your pieces are too skinny or too fat, just turn it until you feel that it's even. That's another reason using the shapes tool is a lot easier than having to erase your drawings and recreate them, right? Leah, a question?
So do we have to like build the exact same thing as you, or if our like things is equal, if we did it, can we keep it?
How did you build yours?
So the 6th the same way, but the 8th I did like 3 lines down and a line in the middle, and they're all equal.
In your circle or in your rectangle?
Circle.
Okay, so let me see if I'm understanding here. Let's take a look here. I'm going to add a circle. So is this what you did, Leah? Hold on. There we go. Change that to, there we go. Okay, so is this what you did? You went straight up and down inside of your circle here. And then here. Is this what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so these might look like they are equal, but just like on my thirds, they are not going to be, oh goodness, I can't grab that one. Hold on, there we go. Okay, so you did that, and then you did one across the middle. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a great conversation to have. Thank you for bringing this up, Leah. So this right here, these might look like they're pretty equal, but if we were to color a piece, so let's go ahead and color one here. Let's color this one red. Not only is it a different shape, but we're going to see that this is more than another one of those pieces here. Okay, so let's do that. And then if I color this, this is a lot skinnier than that piece over there on the corner. Do you see that? So I want you to imagine this is like your favorite cookie, and I want you to imagine that Logan gets the red piece. So see how that's bigger than this piece right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is why we don't use straight lines up and down over and over on those circular models. Because until we color it, Leah, you're exactly right. When I didn't have this colored, those look like they're equal. But when we color them to see the difference between them, we can definitely see that red one is fatter, okay? So I'm not going to use straight up and down lines. Thank you for bringing that up, Leah. You taught us a lot there. Thank you very much. Awesome. Great example. Okay, boom, boom. All righty, so we've got our 8s. So let's go ahead and wrap up with our rectangular fourths, okay? So again, if you know how to make fourths, you know how to make 8s. I'm going to make my rectangle over here look the exact same way as my fourths rectangle does, because we know that 8 is double of 4. So all I got to do is cut these things in half again, okay? So we've got our fourths. Now I'm going to add a line that cuts my fourths in half. So I'm going to go about the middle of this side and leave it. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to find the middle of that piece and leave it. And now I've got 8 pieces, right? So if I were to count, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and they look pretty equal to me. So I've got my 8s, okay? This is how you make each fraction that you are responsible for in 3rd grade on circular and rectangular models. We'll take a look at number lines as we get more comfortable with fractions, okay? All righty. What questions can I answer about how to make 6 or 8s before I go over your assignment expectations with you? Any questions at all? Okay. So let's take a look at the directions on 2 through 4. Part 1 says partition each shape according to the denominator. 2 says label each piece as a unit fraction. To save time, I'm going to play this example from Ms. Thaxton today, okay? This is what your completed work should look like.
All right, are some problems for you to try on your own. You're going to partition each one of these shapes into however many parts the denominator tells you to divide it into. So let's take a look at the center one, number 2. The denominator here, as you can see, is an 8. That means we're going to take the whole shape and we're going to cut it into 8 parts. I'm going to use the strategy I used in the practice slides, and I'm going to actually turn this into 4 parts by cutting down the middle there and then cutting down the middle there. That gives me 4 parts. And in order to turn that into 8 parts, I'm going to cut each one of those in half. Now I've turned my 4 parts into 8 parts. Each one of these parts is an 1/8 of the shape. So this is 1/8. This is 1/8. This is 1/8. This is 1/8. 1/8. 1/8. 1/8. And 1/8.
Okay. Before you turn your work into me, each part should be equally divided and should be labeled with the name of the part. So this is 1/8 because it's one of the 8 pieces. This is also 1/8 because it's one of the 8 pieces. But that will look differently for each one that you're drawing. This one is 4ths, so each piece, we did this one yesterday, so I don't mind showing you, should be 1/4. So I have 1/4 here, 1/4. I have 1/4 here, which is 1/4. I have one piece here, which is 1/4. And then I have one piece here, which is also 1/4. Okay? So you should complete both steps. You should partition or cut it into parts, and you should label each unit fraction on the piece. So 2, 3, and 4 all have the same directions, okay? You are partitioning or cutting the pieces. You are labeling them with their name of the part, okay? So when you click the check today, 2, 3, and 4 should be completely done. Yesterday, you moved or you connected your emoji to how you were feeling about the skill. If you feel better or worse today, make sure you move that emoji to show it. And then as always, you need to spend 15 minutes on Zearn practicing fractions, and the remainder of your time can be on Prodigy practicing fractions. Okay? This is your assignment for the day.